Okay, hello, this is Carrie Rowe from Two Rose Healing, and this is information for transformation because knowledge is power, and it's all about you taking control of your life. So today I want to share something that I've loved for a long time. It's a great tool. They're called Biorhythms, and basically they are three rhythms: a physical rhythm, an emotional rhythm, and an intellectual rhythm that start the day you're born. And they continue throughout life. They're different lengths of cycles. So you'll have periods of time where they'll be up and periods of time that they'll be down. And there'll be interweavings of both of those. So let me share my screen and we'll talk about this because this is fascinating. Here we go. Okay. I want to just start with what this means, and we'll get into more specifics. So the green line is the physical line, the red is emotional, and the blue is the intellectual. So basically, what this is telling us is that I'm going to start with the physical. So we'll talk about this line right here, and this period of time for it to take to get all the way back to the beginning is 23 days. All of these little hatch marks are a day. The next one, the emotional one, is 28 days. And the last one, the intellectual, is 33 days. It takes 33 days to get all the way back to the center line. So this is our center line. It's also called critical line, but we'll talk about that in a moment. It's basically neutral. Think about it as neutral. So if we're going above the line, it's increasing, and if we go below the line, it's decreasing. Neither of these are good or bad, it just is. So let's look at the physical rhythm for a moment. The entire time we said was 23 days. It's a little over 3 weeks. So in 1 month's time, we'll have gone, here's 23 days, here's like almost 30 days here. So it's 1 1/4, one whole cycle and like a quarter of a cycle in 1 month. So that could be 2 periods of going up, it could be 2 periods of down. But anyway, let's look at what this means. So this part going from here to here is the upper phase or the high, and the period from here to here is the low. So this means that you have more physical energy on the upswing and less physical energy on the downswing. But there's a lot of other influences on this, and we'll talk about those. So basically, when your body is in this phase of up here, you have increased vitality. You feel and you have more energy to do things. You actually have more physical vitality, more physical energy. You will do more things that require more energy. It would be the time that you could paint the garage or climb a tree or go on a hike or do a whole marathon or something. You feel more physically able to do things here. Contrary, on the bottom side of this is the low time, kind of actually in here to here, which we'll talk about in a minute, is the real low time, and this is where you just don't feel like it. You just don't. You may have good intentions, but you just don't have the physical energy to do this. And I think this is very, very important for people to know because it allows us all to understand our energy cycles and not to make excuses for it, not to say, well, I'm low, I can't do anything today. Or I'm on my low cycle, I'm not going to be, able to work or work hard. It's not that at all. It's just understanding that you don't have as much punch as you do up here. But that's okay. There's other factors. So let's talk about that. When we're actually let's just do the whole cycle. When we're on this phase of it here, going up to the peak, you have just an abundance of energy. You have more vitality, more energy. And as you come down, you still have energy, of course, you're above, but then you hit the line. We'll talk about what that means when you hit the line, but you're still going down and you still have energy, okay? So this is still moving down. You have energy, And then once you get about here is when you tank. This is like when you just like, bleh. You might have great intentions, you know, if you're emotionally high, but you're low and you're just like, I just don't have it. I'm tired. I just don't want to. You make excuses here of how to get out of stuff. Actually here and these 2 or 3 days, depending on everything else. But from here to like here, kind of suck every 21 days. This is part of the suck time. Physically. But I mean, it may be good. You might get into it and say, you know, I need to rest. I don't want to push myself. I shouldn't push myself in here. I won't put a lot on my plate. I will recover. That's the smart way to handle this. It's not always possible, but you know, this is life. You know, if you have something important to do at this time, well, then you just got to, you know, put your big girl, big boy panties on and do it. But if not, you know, if you can get out of it, this is the time to allow yourself rest and recovery. All right, so what happens when we're moving and we hit this line? We've got so much energy up here coming down. When we hit this line, we tend to hurt ourselves, harm ourselves, get into accidents. You know, we're more accident prone here because we're more spastic. We're less in control of this energy. It's like, whoa, you tend to hit your head, you overestimate. You know, you miss the corner, you bang, you know, you hit your toe, you hit your head, you carry too much, you hurt yourself because you think you're invincible and you can just muscle through it, and you physical strain. Now on the other side, you don't have a lot of energy here, and you're just like, you know, you're coming up and you're like, oh God, and when you finally kind of pop over this, you're mustering, you are just like pushing, struggling, forcing things. This is when sometimes you'll like cut yourself because you know, you're chopping and you're not you know, you're not doing it with enough intent in it, and you'll cut yourself. You just, you know, you get that energy that's not directed. Where here it's over directed, here it's under directed. You force it. Yeah, you hurt yourself by forcing something too. You strain. Where here it's sort of uncontrolled, more bombastic or spastic. You do stupid things on the way down, where on the way up, you'll force things because you don't have the energy. All right. What else about the physical cycle? Again, it's 23 days. It's a little over 3 weeks. So your up time, you know, your down times are really not that bad. If you know, I don't like to think about this whole time as less energy because you do have a lot coming down here, but you start to get a little less. And so, you know, maybe, you know, 5 or 6 days are kind of the worst, which isn't bad. You know, we really need to take those downtime days or days that you don't put as much on your plate. You don't have to. Okay, let's talk about the emotional one. This is interesting because it's a 28-day rhythm. So that means that at the sevens, at the period of 7, you know, every week, you know, you have something happening. And this is also the cycle of the moon every 28 days, usually female menstrual cycles every 28 days. And here we have the emotional cycle every 28 days. So here's where you have to say that we're going to start with the critical. And I'm going to say this is a Monday. Say this person's born on a Monday. So here's Monday. And then next Monday, you're at your emotional peak, your emotional high. You have the most energy emotionally, energy to emote, let me put it that way. You get more excited, more emotional. You could be, if you cry or something, it touches you, you'll be more emoting. You'll get more involved in something. Your emotions will, you know, you'll be taking on people's stuff more here or more affected by it than you will over here. So you're more high emotionally. You can get angry more. You can get angrier more, faster, deeper, sharper, whatever. You can get crabbier, you know, if you're in that mood. You'll tend to be in better emotions when you're up and maybe a little bit more negative when you're down, but not necessarily. You could be just emoting more negativity, or you're real angry and you're really, really angry, you know, at this point, and you're showing it more volatile, or here you may be angry but seething. So it just depends on the type of emotion it is that you have. Okay, so emotionally, so here Monday here, then next Monday, and then the next Monday, which is 2 weeks after again, you're at the critical again. So every 2 weeks you're at a critical, going up or down on the same day. And then the next Monday, 3 weeks later on the emotional low, and then back to the start. Isn't that interesting? So whatever day of the week you're born on, that will be your emotional day of high, low, or the criticals in between. So this is good to know. All right, so again, emotionally high, you can emote more, and you tend to be happier and more positive, but you tend to just emote more emotions. Emotionally low, not as affected by things, more apathetic, or more depressed and repressed, or you just don't emote as much, or a combination of all that, depending on everything else. All right, the last one is the intellectual, and it is the longest one of 33 days. So it's almost, 16 and a little bit that you'll hit the middle part of that, and then on the other side. So this one means that the whole upside, let's go with, I can't quite do it because it's cut off, but say here's the beginning of going up on this rhythm. Okay, so it goes up, and then we'll continue over here, all the way to here. That whole upswing is better at learning. Your brain is better at learning new things, taking on new tasks, having new input. And the whole time of going down from the top, going all the way down the bottom, is better at remembering, reviewing what you've learned. So if you can put information in your life this way, you'll be much more on the ball with it. But that doesn't always happen, does it? If you're in school, you're not always, you could be tested, when you're on the up phase of a subject, and this will always change unless you're able to have your own curriculum, make your own rules, and when you understand this. And this would be good for homeschooling moms or homeschooling dads, homeschoolers, to know this about their kids and put and then kids to learn this themselves and to be able to put themselves on this emotion or intellectual learning and remembering cycle. But anyway, this is good to know that you are better at receiving on the upswing and getting new information. So if you have to remember stuff going up, you're probably not going to do as well. And then going down, you're better at remembering and recalling. And if you have to learn something new on this side, you're not going to be as with it. The brain wants to do something different. So this, again, is really, really good to know, especially, I think, for anybody in school or learning, and then anybody that has been labeled with learning disabilities. This would be very beneficial. All right, I want to talk about the middle line here, the critical line. What it means, critical is, it's not my favorite word for it, but it is what it is, and that's what it's called. It's also the middle line or the neutral line. So when things hit it, it's neither one way or the other, and I guess that's what's critical, because it's not committed to one way or the other. It's like going through a stoplight. You're in your car and you're driving. It's green, and as you get close, all of a sudden it turns yellow. So what do you do at that point? Do you slam on the brakes and stop, or do you hit the gas and go? How close to the intersection are you? What's going to happen? So it's that pause, that non-committal, that makes things mess up, kind of, because you're not committed to it. If you have a rule of thumb, I'm always going to go for it. Well, then you at least or I'll never do it. I'll always stop. That would be better to err on the safe side, something like that. But that you can't always say that in this context, but that's what it's like. So let's look at that with things. And I think the most dramatic would be the physical. When you are on the upside, you have a lot of energy, and you're coming down, you got energy. Now here, when you hit it, this is when you hurt yourself because you're being more spastic. Okay, remember that. And on the upside, it's when you're having to push through something. Now the emotional, if you hit this line, it's kind of you would be affected more by something, okay? Because you're high, you're emoting more, or you're in higher emotions, and here it's like this damper, from being high to now being low. So it's kind of it could be an emotional ew at that point. And the intellectual one, when that one is coming down, the mind is sort of in a falter. That's sort of the mind freezes, or you can't remember things, or you can't, it's like somebody get a little block, maybe a writer's block, or you get a creative block when you're going up. as opposed to when you're going down a memory freeze, like, oh, I knew it. I was just, it's on the tip of my tongue, kind of like that. So it's those pause periods that are that yellow light, that caution, that non-committal point. All right, those are good to know. Sometimes they happen at the same time or one right after another. That's interesting too. So if they hit at the same time, you'll get two things happening at once. And there's, several combinations of these. I'm not going to talk about them all in this video, but I want to just mention a couple. Say you have a physical and emotional hitting together. So you'll be maybe more affected physically by the emotions, when they're both together. What if one is going up, one's going down? Well, there's another dynamic, and I'd like to go through these in detail because they're very interesting on all those little scenarios. But that makes a difference. If your energy is going down, your physical energy is going down, but your emotional energy is going up, you're getting more of that lift with something as opposed to the other way around. So two things happening at once. That's just, again, it's doubled. So that critical or that not being engaged or no energy is enhanced. We've got 2/3 of it now are happening. And then the rare times that happen throughout life when you get 3 of them in a row are not the best. Those are really usually days that you'll remember because a lot of things are going on. And then again, it depends on which way they're going. If they're all going down or if they're all going up or if there's combinations, it makes a difference. But some of those are definitely memorable days of mishap, of cognition, of epiphanies, lots of different things happening on those days. So nothing to fear. It's just interesting to note. And you can get these printed out. I like to do mine like every season, every 4 months. It gives me a big chunk of information to look at. And I look at it and I'll note times that are that I need to know. Maybe things like this one is a great time. This one, all of these are up. So these weeks would be really good for vacation, getting things done, launching a business, just lots of good positive things. If they were the opposite, these are spreading out a little bit. But if they were all bunched up down below, I would lay low, hibernate, review, read, get into you for a little while. There's differences. You would want to note when there's criticals. These single ones are all the time, but I would like to note the double ones, definitely the triple ones. And then again, if they're close together, 2 or 3 days in a row. So note those things over that period and plan accordingly. Again, if you've got all this abundance of high energy, do something positive with it. If you've got a whole bunch of low stuff, make sure that you don't book a vacation or plan to move or something that week, or if you can't, at all. And then if you know those and things just happen, like say you're on a triple low and you've got tests to do or you have to move or do something physical, well, plan for it. Make sure that you're on your game and that you do, you treat your body well and you get yourself in a good position for it. So these are biorhythms. These are awesome to help your, to look at your life, to gauge your energy, to move through things and use this information accordingly. So I hope that you've gotten something from this, and please check more of our videos, Tuberose Healing and tuberosehealing.com. Thank you for watching.